And the worst part is, he makes me carry around the net that he uses on me.
Listen, it's a privilege to carry around your own torture device. Don't let anyone ever tell you differently.
Yeah, but it's bad when he says, "Get under the net."
Testicles.
Net that he uses on me.
Listen, it's a privilege to carry around your own torture device. Don't let anyone ever tell
Yeah,
you
it's good.
differently.
Yeah,
Oh,
but it's
hey,
bad
look,
when
I
he
can
says,
see
"Get
it."
under the net."
Well, not us, but the pictures of us, our characters, and Pro Jared.
Which one's Pro Jared?
I doodled a picture of him. It's currently my thing because the last game that I played for sure was Chris Edwards' game, and I'm a horrible hack of a player, and I just built his character because they have it online, and I suck at making my own characters. I'm great at dungeon mastering. Okay, so yeah, you guys were discussing your plan of operations for what you plan to do in the actual feast hall.
Right. So I say we kill and eat the babies. Wait, what? That's not what we're talking about?
No.
Oh, right.
So we were wondering whether or not it might be good to split the party again, and Boo and Hawke go to the forest to check out this Jason guy who's caring for the child, or what?
I think that'll take a long time. I'm not sure if we have that time, do we?
Yeah, what time is it right now?
Roll an intelligence check straight.
Who?
Anybody who's hypothesizing, considering that specific idea.
Xelbor. Ooh, good one.
Yeah. So, Hawke, you're fine. You are certain that if you leave this place, if you leave Lament's Nose, there's really no way you're getting back up to the top.
Aha. Okay. Never mind.
Well, that kills that plan.
Yeah, if you were to exit the castle and re-enter, if any of you were to enter the castle or exit the castle, you would not be admitted re-entry. They don't put a stamp on your hand or put a band on your hand to make sure you can get back in. You would need to find some sort of secret entrance in and out of the place if you were to do that.
Okay, then I have a different plan. We don't have to necessarily kill anybody until the end of 6th day, right? I think that was the original.
Yeah.
Yeah. So why don't we just you do your Giacomo thing and be a jester, and we can be your bodyguards or whatever, and then just see what goes down and to get a sense of the scene.
Right. So don't kill anyone
for
tonight,
20
right?
minutes.
Right. Don't kill anyone for a few minutes. Right.
Right.
All right.
What was it that you said about that woman, though, that we sent to the king?
What did I say about her?
Right. Boo. What did you say about
Okay, hold on. I gotta grab something real quick. I'll be right back. Keep talking amongst yourselves.
What do you mean? What did I say about her?
Didn't you say that she wanted to do something to the king, like stabby sort of a thing?
Oh yeah. There's a bunch of people looking to do the whole stabby thing to the king.
Right, but specifically the woman who is going to be alone in a chamber with the king.
Oh,
tonight, I believe.
that's right. She was like a lady of the night.
Well, I think she's not really lady of the night, unless by that you mean assassin.
Oh, she was the assassin that you met out on the streets, right?
That Xelbor and I just picked to be her special special little bitch.
Right. Well, you could just let things happen on their own, and then we can see what transpires, and then just sort of jump in.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we don't want her to kill him, though, do we?
Why not?
Why?
He's not the legitimate king.
Oh,
I thought we decided not to kill anyone until 6th day.
Well, we're not killing anybody.
Well, yeah, but if she kills him, isn't he the guy who already has said that he would stay on the throne and rule until that kid got to a certain age, or am I thinking of a different person?
No, you're thinking of Griswold. So he
Griswold. Griswold is not the sitting king. He is the next in line after the king to rule instead of this unknown boy. Yeah, right.
So you're right. We don't care if he gets killed then.
Out of the way, this guy out of the way clears the way for Lena and Griswold to
Right.
take over as
Well-
Well, correction, real quick. Just a heads up,
Right?
correction real quick. If the Duke marries Lena, he does not then become king if the king dies. Lena goes back with him to his duchy, and she is sent with a dowry from the king. The king's first male heir is the one who would take the throne. It's still annoyingly traditional like that.
I didn't realize there was a male heir.
There isn't. If there is no male heir, and she is basically next in line, he does not rule. She rules, and he serves as his king, as her king. But he is not in charge. She is in charge. It's not a strictly patriarchal society in that it does go patriarch first. It does go male line first, but a female can rule and take supremacy.
So basically, it's like the current Queen of England, where she's married, but her husband has no power.
Correct. Exactly that. So the thing is the negotiated discussion here is that we don't know if Griswold is. There's no assignment that Griswold is going to marry Lena. That's not been determined yet. So, like, that's just what these two people, Brockhurst and Rathbun, are trying to negotiate. And the intent there is that, so you can see, like, what that is the reason why they want that to happen is so that Lena serves as regent here, so that the true king can be taken up, and then Lena can be taken back to Aegon once the real king is put in place.
Right.
Right.
So
do we want to kill the king yet?
I don't think we want to kill the king, but I don't think it's a bad thing if it happens anyway. I think if it happens anyway, our problem is going to be to make sure that Ravenhurst, the vizier, doesn't try to knock off Griswold to stop the succession.
Okay, Griswold's not the one in succession, though. Lena is. She's the one that could get
Lena,
But she doesn't want to have...
Griswold has no line in the succession.
No, I understand, but if there's no marriage, though, then then there's no right.
So
if there's no king right
marry
now, the possibility
Lena.
of marriage might be slightly harder to come to an arrangement about while Lena's in mourning for her father, which could make our job here slightly more difficult.
Okay, let me put it down for you. There are currently 3 sides that we're playing to, and you pointed them out very clearly, Andy. But I'm going to give you a hand by narrowing the scope. Side 1 wants Griswold's attendants killed so the negotiations for Griswold marrying Lena don't come to pass. The reason why is if Lena marries Griswold, Lena is going to be one of 2 things: either the true identified heir to Nathor once he dies and she becomes queen, or sent off as patronage, or basically as a dowried wife to Griswold once the quote-unquote real king is established. So the Aegon side seems to understand that there's a bit of political problem there, just like the rebels seem to know, just like Rathbun seems to know, just like Brockhurst seems to know. They understand that there's more in the game than just getting married. There's also the aftermath. The second side is Griselda, who does not want her to get married, but for unknown reasons at this time. Personal reasons, you suppose. It seems like she just does not want Lena to get married to Griswold. Does she know Griswold? I don't know. Is there a deeper reason there that she doesn't want Lena to get married for a reason? Who knows? But there's the second side, kind of the middle ground. That kind of falls in line with Ravenhurst's mentality. Don't let the marriage happen. Remember, the third side is those who are advocating for the marriage to happen, which are Brockhurst and Rathbun, who have sent for Griswold and who should arrive this evening or tomorrow. And they're hoping to introduce him to Lena and have her be married to her. And the reason why is so we've already discussed. The key is if those 2 people who are negotiating for that marriage are basically thrown out and killed, or just put out of the equation, then there aren't going to be too many people advocating for the marriage side. So if your intent is to be on the marriage side in hopes of stabilizing this kingdom and also Aegon with an alliance, then yeah, you should fight for that and protect Brockhurst and Rathbun. If you don't feel that's the case, and you don't want them to, have that kind of stability, or you just don't feel the match is right for whatever reasons you come to, then you should probably help with the either exiling, banishment, or termination of those two individuals.
Okay, so what would happen if the negotiations for the marriage didn't occur because something happened to Brockhurst and Rathburn, and in addition, something happens to the king? In other words, there'd be a vacuum.
Lena would be the heir, so she would become queen.
Become queen, okay.
Lena
Yeah.
is the linchpin right now.
Actually, scratch that. Sorry. Apologies.
I just don't
No.
trust Basil
No.
Ravenhurst.
You're right. She's not technically a woman. So the rights of proving that you're a woman are marriage. The rights of proving that you're a man are combat. So, since she's not married, she's not entitled to her, until she gets married, she's not entitled to her position. So there would be a regent put in place, and yeah, it would be Ravenhurst.
So he has a real motive to sort of create that vacuum, to stop the negotiations to get rid of the king.
Sure, but again, thinking about it politically, there are probably other people besides these players in this game. And if he just suddenly rises up to the top of the broth here, then I mean, there's going to be a lot of daggers aimed at his back.
Okay, so question number one then is: do we protect the king by going against the people that we're supposedly working with, this group that knows the whistle?
Oh, that wasn't for me, you guys. That's for you guys. He's talking to you.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for other people to speak.
I don't know.
So we'd be making some other kind of enemies, for sure.
Okay, either way, whatever we do, someone's going to be our enemies at the end of this.
I know.
Oh, wait a minute. Let's not forget. We were sent here, and he became Giacomo to kill...
What?
Cut out.
Say
You cut
again.
out. Kevin, you cut out. Something's wrong with your mic.
Type it. I see his Discord icon.
I can hear now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it froze up for a minute there. That's annoying. All right. So, anyways, like I said, what remind me, Xelbor, what you came here to do?
Well, originally I thought that I was here to kill. Let me check my notes.
Kill the king, maybe. That's what I'm thinking. Remember, that's the guy we were at last time. That's what he wanted you to do. Gosh, I gotta look that up. Was that
Well, give me a second.
Sent by Commonwealthers to kill someone for Lady Griselda. And I think that's probably Brockhurst and Rathburn to prevent the negotiations so that Lena doesn't have to get married.
Well, hold on. Let me see.
Right.
I have this written down. Wait, was that right?
It was right. So there are basically two people who have vied for Giacomo's expertise. Ravenhurst and Griselda. Both seem to have, means of contact and have proven themselves as in league with Giacomo and are hirers of his special services. Both want the same thing.
Right.
which is the king killed, right? Am I right?
No,
with
which
that?
is to stop
No.
the negotiations for the marriage from taking place by killing the
okay.
ambassadors.
Okay.
By killing Brockhurst and Rathbun.
Man, I'd hate to kill those guys. I just know Mel wouldn't want to kill them because which one of those guys was the fish guy?
Rathbun.
Rathburn?
Rathbon, by the way. Just I know you guys are going to keep saying it the way you're saying it because it sounds righter, but it's a fish man.
Right.
They have weird names.
Okay, cool. But you guys do what you want to do, you know?
Right.
So we have one person who's not terribly invested in the process at all.
Right.
That's two people we have that are not terribly invested in the process at all. And then we have Zell and Hawke. So
yeah. So again, my question is right now, I don't think necessarily killing the king is a bad thing because at least Lena we know.
But we don't know. We don't know this Lena, do we?
this is the Lena from the very early on story. Yeah, this is the one that you met in Hilton.
Okay.
She
Okay.
was the one that fucked up Cardiff.
Oh, right.
So either way, I still think a Lena would be better than whoever this king is. But at the same time, my question is, do we want the king to kill the king now? Like, would that force a marriage? Or would that delay? Like, I don't know enough about politics.
Well, I thought we talked about the fact that Lena wouldn't necessarily be queen right away because she's not married. So that would create an issue.
Ravenhurst would become the regent.
Right, that's why I'm wondering if it would force a marriage or not.
Well, if we do like Lena, we can probably get into her good graces by preventing her father from getting killed, right? She probably.
Maybe.
Unless she hates her father.
For my 2 cents, if anyone cares,
Yeah.
Sure.
it'll be a lot easier if she dies now by someone else's hand than if we have to kill her ourselves.
Wait, her or him?
Or him, rather, the king. It'll be a lot easier if someone else does the dirty work because we have an opportunity that's presented itself. So before us, and all we have to do is step back and let things take their course.
Yep. That
Whereas
could be.
later, we're going to have to proactively get engaged one way or another and take him out ourselves.
And there's going to be heavy defenses.
Correct. We don't know what kind of a situation we'll see in the future. So it seems to me the easiest thing for us to do would be to do nothing, let this play out, and figure out how to move forward afterwards.
I can live with that.
All right, I can live with that, I guess.
So basically, your plan is to go for the ride.
Well, we just
For
want to
now.
see what goes down
We
immediately.
want to see if she takes out the king tonight. If
and
she
what
does,
happens.
we move forward from there. If she doesn't, we also move forward from there.
So you guys keep on saying take out the king. Nobody's really eyeing the king as like a target.
The what's her name? The
The-
woman who wanted to assassinate the king.
She
The
doesn't.
one with the misty step.
I thought she was like.
Oh, right. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, the rebels.
The
You
rebels
right.
were eyeing
You
to
right.
Kill the king, and we just got one of the rebels alone in a room with him late at night with no protection.
Got it.
So our plan is to just like
Let it
step
happen.
back and see what happens in the morning. Like who comes out on.
Okay, I get where you're at now.
We'll reevaluate the situation then because we'll be in totally unpredictable circumstances. A lot can happen between now and then. So it's like we don't have to discuss any further. I think we all decided that we're cool with letting tonight play out as it plays out.
Just riding the chaos as it comes. Got it.
And we'll adjust as it goes, you know?
I mean, I still
Lean
feel a
into
little
the
bit
tidal
worried
wave.
about this, but I don't know. Again, politics. I don't do politics.
Well, then all you need
Right,
to
and
do is be a jester tonight.
That's Boo's 2 cents.
No, I
He
think
seems
that
like,
makes sense.
You know?
Okay, so all you have to do is be a jester tonight and come up with some really awesome, raucous, bowdy, just gay entertainment for the people.
Right.
You can do it.
Right.
Roll for funny.
Natural one.
That's funny in itself. It's like horrible failure.
It's basically I am the Tommy Wiseau of bards at this moment, right? How that works.
Oh,
Just whip out your accordion and you're good to go.
All right. Does anybody remember the name of the person who told you about Jason in the forest?
It was the servant guy, wasn't it?
It was what?
The servant guy who came to my place.
Do you remember his name?
No.
Again, give me a second to look at my notes. I probably have it written down somewhere.
Freddy Krueger.
It's accurate.
I'm pretty sure that wasn't it.
but not
that's
positive.
Albacore, but that's the king. Predicted by Jason. I do not have the servant's name down.
Strawn?
No, Strawn is the assassin other guy. The third wheel in the assassin party. He was the one that was big burly guy in the assassin's hideout.
Right. I do not have down that guy's name.
Perfectly fine. Not a problem. I have it. I mean, it's not like, I was asking you as a joke. Okay, so I'm going to ask you guys real quick before we move forward. Is there anything that you want to do in and about the castle? Anything you want to investigate, explore, or do in and about the castle before the feast hall opens up?
Find that servant and find out what his name is.
So,
that much.
fair. Boo, do you want to do anything in particular in the meantime? Or are you just waiting it out? Zach?
I would like to find some higher ranking member of the guard and inquire about the security as if I'm checking in for the Jester. I'm his head of security, so my job is to make sure I know all of the weak spots here.
Sure.
Deal.
Okay.
So hopefully I can just get him to tell me all of the weak spots, because why wouldn't he trust me?
So you're going to speak to the captain of the guard.
Yes.
Okay. Hawke?
Hawke is going to stay with Zell.
Okay, and then serve as guardian to him. Xelbor?
I mean, right now, I might just wander around, and if I see Lena, talk to her, possibly.
Okay, looking for Lena. All right, you and Hawke together. Cool. Do me a favor, both of you, make a intelligence history check. Actually, charisma history check. Sorry.
Charisma history.
Ugh. So I'm trying to understand. I have a skill in history, but
so you would roll proficient charisma.
Proficient charisma. Okay. My highest.
Nice.
Charisma
Well played on both of you. As you guys are getting ready to head off and do whatever you're doing, you kind of look back to the box that you had brought in for you by that servant, and you realize it's marked with Giacomo's name and logos and stuff. And when you kind of walk over to it and open it, you realize that inside there are all different types of outfits and the like. And the two of you kind of think about it for a second and realize the feast is in about an hour or two, and most of the people who are going to it are probably gathering themselves, putting on their finery, and preparing themselves for the feast. So going out and searching for the princess is probably something that will elicit no results.
Right.
So you plan on getting yourself ready. Do me a favor then. If Hawke is no help, but if you would then do me a favor and make a charisma check, and if you're proficient with disguise kit, you can go ahead and add that proficiency.
I think I am. Let me just check. Yes, I am proficient with disguise kit.
Perfect.
Can you give Hawke a handlebar mustache?
Okay, so use my proficiency with this, and yes, I can.
Perfect. So the thing that you are doing is basically composing yourself and making yourself look as much as you can recall Giacomo looking like, and kind of gathering yourself up into that presence. So you're prepared for the stage. The other portion of this, too, is you need to have some reason why Hawke or Mel or Booh are basically going to be out and about on the floor. So you're coming up with ideas as to what you're going to do to kind of make them that be the case. So you just let me know once I come back around to you what your intent is.
You're going to be a sword swallower. Can you do that for me?
No, I have a sword if you swallow it.
Zell whips out his dongus. It starts off soft, then it gets harder. Anywho, fellatio jokes aside, Mel, as this is happening, are you staying with these two, or are you heading off and doing something on your own? Do you have any intent, like anything that you want to do?
I was thinking about going with Boo, but I'll let him go on his own. I'll stick with Zell, and I got to figure out like what can I bring to this this gathering. Like, do I have to? Could I wear my armor, or do I need to wear like just some nicer noble's clothes or something?
Sure.
Can you talk while drinking a cup of water since you're a fishman?
Yes.
So you would know that you're allowed to wear whatever garb, whatever attire that you want, but much was the case when you went in to dine with the young lordling, Adrian Dagger. Your weapons will be taken from you upon entry, and they probably will allow you to wear armor in a feast hall. That's not a big deal, but they're not going to, they're definitely going to look at you awkwardly if you do.
Okay, I have one really cool thing that we could do if you want to do like a big finishing show for your Jester act.
Okay, also keep in mind if you want to wear, well actually no, that probably won't work because they probably have like an anti-magic field on the castle. Never mind, scrap that plan.
Yeah, I'll just hand in my weapons when I go there. But
real quick, Zell, you would have noticed that there wasn't any seeming magic present in the feast hall when you kind of probably walked past it just to see where it was, or walked into it just to check what your venue looked like in the meantime, like prior to. So you know there's no like, it's not as nice as the house in the Imperial capital. There is no deflection of magic.
Oh, so if I like cast a steaming spell on us so that some of us could continue to wear armor even though it would look like we weren't, I might be able to get away with that.
You're pretty sure you could get away with it. It would take your concentration, obviously, but it...
no, steaming does not take concentration. It's 8 hours.
Perfect. Then yeah, you think it'd be fine. It's just a glamour.
Yeah.
Do you know what our big finish should be on this show?
Me.
Yes, you doing this.
What is this? Why are you holding your two fingers up?
What we could do is we would put this little bowl down in the middle of the room, take my decanter of endless water, pour some water in that, and then I could command a water elemental to appear. Now that's pretty spectacular. So I don't know if we might want to save that to like the last show of our trip here, because I don't know if we could ever top that, but. Plus, that may elicit some anger from some people. But if the good thing is if everything went to hell, we would have a water elemental there.
You do realize I can make pretty much everyone's forks and spoons dance on their plate if I wanted to.
True, but this is all I can do. So.
You're like, but imagine that, but with a big water geyser in the center of the room.
Yeah.
I mean, forks and knives dancing is all great, Beauty and the Beast, but I'm talking about a little mermaid now. Like I would jump in the water elemental and just start swimming around.
Yeah, Ron is going to be one of your audience, so you have to consider that.
You also need to think, and that's actually a solid point, but you also need to think about whatever you're doing as your presentation. You've got to remember who you're performing for. And certain things might be gestures towards certain individuals.
Right.
Well, I'm not sure it's a showstopper, but we can do something with it.
No, it's just it was an idea. I had that idea, so it's available to you.
I think we can do it.
Meanwhile,
Finale.
Okay.
Meanwhile, Boo, you're able to find the captain of the guard. He's talking with a lordling, or a lord perhaps, a younger fellow, I think. Hold on a second, let me double check. Not really a younger fellow, middle-aged man. They're talking to one another, and as you kind of approach, the lord kind of nods his head to the captain and kind of starts walking away. And the captain of the guard turns and looks to you. You would have not known who he was directly. You probably would have asked a guard where he was located, and that's how you came to find him. And he says to you, you are the guardian of the Jester, correct?
At the moment.
My guards say that you were seeking me out with questions. What may I help you with?
Well, as I'm sure you know, my job is to keep that man safe.
Apologies.
I was wondering if you could inform me about the defenses you've set up for this evening.
Apologies. I am very rude. My name is Captain Herbert Redley, captain of the guard. He reaches out his right hand in a gesture of, not really a handshake for Partons. They typically just grasp each other by their forearms.
Yeah, I'll accept it.
Okay.
Boo. Just give me my first name.
He gives you a pretty good shake. I mean, he's got kind of a younger looking face, but you can just tell that he's an older guy. He kind of has like an almost childlike face for some reason. It's handsome, but I mean, it's not like he just doesn't look very. It's not what you would place as the captain of the guard face wise. Very kind of jarring. But he says to you, "We will have a total of 13 guards posted at each of the doors of the feast hall. And also, I believe we will also have magical defense presented by," and he gestures towards across the courtyard, and when he does so, you can see that there are 3 individuals. 2 are wearing gray robes, and 1 is wearing red robes. The one wearing red robes kind of turns and looks over in your direction, and you can see that he's holding a staff. He looks like a very intimidating individual, and he kind of gives you a glance, and then he gives you a nod from across the way. He says, "The Magier have been invited here by Lord Patrick Pertwee. It is their intent to put forth an offer once again to King Albacoris. It seems that they once again wish to have a Magier's tower built within the city of Sorrowgate."
I see.
Because of their sparkling reputation and some of their service in the kingdom of Stormloft, I have accepted that they serve in the defense of the feast this evening.
And the guests, how will you be vetting them?
The only people who have been invited to the feast are vassal houses, vassal lords. They will be inspected by the Magier upon entry, and anyone that is close to the king will be specifically inspected for any types of possible contraband. So anyone who sits up on the dais with him will be specifically checked very thoroughly by not only my guards, but also by the Magier.
Excellent. It's good to know. I'm glad to see you've covered all your bases, and I'll give him like a little smile.
He says, also, the natural defenses of the Lament's Nose will present us with no outside interference, so only those who can enter into the castle and then pass my guards will be able to gain access to this feast hall. And to my knowledge, the only guests that will be arriving late, if they do arrive at all, is Lord Griswold, Duke Griswold, and his retinue.
Excellent. Thank you, sir. And I'll dismiss myself.
Okay.
The shit hasn't started yet, so I can make it back to them.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, you got an hour and a half or so, yeah.
I'm gonna let them know that there are Magier that are gonna be checking everyone, whatever that fucking means.
You would know, too, that from your position in your apartment, there is a window that allows you to look out onto the courtyard if you so wished.
Cool. Also, it might not be a bad idea for us to reach out to the rebel that we've kind of put into this and make sure she doesn't try and bring anything in with her. We can always sneak shit to her afterwards, but I don't know if we can gain access to her again.
Yeah, you're pretty sure that she's been kind of taken away up to the king's chambers. You're not sure. You're pretty sure that she's getting much the same treatment as everyone else, and as Xelbor is doing up himself and Hawke, they're basically trying to make everyone look nice.
What sort of talent do you have, Hawke? It's nearly impossible to figure out what to do with you.
Hawke, Zel, Mel, after he explains to you what happens and says that there are Magier present and kind of gestures towards the window near the courtyard, do any of you wish to go investigate or just continue about your business?
I'd certainly want to look.
Yep.
Hawke, the second you look out the window, Hawke, and look down into the courtyard, and Mel kind of moves over and looks out the window as well, you see in the courtyard are 3 individuals, 2 in gray robes and 1 in a red robe, carrying a very familiar-looking staff to you. When he turns and looks up in your direction and sees you, you can see his mouth kind of widening into a grin. And
it's not that same damn guy.
You recognize him as the Magier who hunted you down in Stormloft on several occasions.
You just set us up.
He gives you just a smile, and then he kind of turns back to his people and continues talking.
Oh boy. And so I would definitely mention that to the others. Shoot.
We found somebody we want to kill now. That asshole.
Can we just get everybody convinced to murder this guy? We don't even know his name.
Yeah.
But can we kill this guy?
I would like to point out, I still do have some poison.
True. Absolutely true.
Ask him to pull your finger.
Boo, how good are you at, sneaking things into people's glasses?
As you guys are talking and conversing, you hear a knock at the door.
Just a minute! Alright, everyone, shut up.
When you open the door, if that is your intent, you see 3 page boys standing behind the door. One of them appears to be older, and he says to whoever opens the door, "My lord, we were sent to ensure that everything that you would need is taken care of. Do you need any refreshment? Do you need any assistance with getting ready? Anything at all?" And you can see that one boy has a box that he's got slung over his shoulder. There's a strap that slings over his shoulders, and inside the box there looks like there's all sorts of makeups and such. The other boy has a backpack, and inside the backpack you can see all sorts of different kind of things jutting out the sides of it. They look like bottles or possibly some forms of decanter that are kind of inside of his bag, and he's holding a satchel off to his side as well. But the main boy just appears to be kind of the talker and isn't carrying anything.
I would have sent Melik to the door to keep up appearances.
Okay, so he says to Fishboy, "My lord, is there anything that we can assist you with, refreshments or any assistance in getting ready?"
Well, as everyone knows, the bard Giacomo loves drink. So if you have any alcohol, I'm sure he's going to want that.
They pull out a single bottle of wine that seems to have kind of a weaved, kind of basket weaved thing on the outside of it. When he hands it to you, you can feel that inside the basket it feels like someone kind of strapped ice to the sides of it, and it's kind of dripping out the bottom. But the bottle that he hands you appears to be like a wine bottle with a chilling apparatus of basket weave on the outside.
Oh, is this Elvish?
No, it's not. It's Janarin.
Oh well, it'll do. I hand it into whoever else is closest to me, and I keep the door shut so you can only see me.
Oh, okay. Anything else, my lord?
You wouldn't happen to have any cheese in there, would you?
They pull out
cheese,
they pull out a wheel of cheese, and the other boy kind of reaches into the back and pulls out a piece of bread as well, a loaf of bread as well. And they set that on the cheese. If that is all, we'll be on our way.
I think that'll be all. Do you need any makeup in there, Giacomo?
Me need makeup? What are you, crazy?
I like to ask him that every once in a while, just to hear his comments. All right, that'll be all. Thank you. I flip him some silver coins.
They kind of pass it back to you, and they say, "No, thank you, my lord." And then they start to head away. Make me a wisdom insight check, though, real quick.
All right. Wait a minute. Wisdom insight?
So if you're proficient with insight, make a wisdom proficient.
Yes, I am actually. And which one is proficient? It would be the yellow one. Right?
No, red one or green.
Oh, green. All right. See,
that's what's yeah. Yellow's expertise, right?
Oh yeah. Okay.
Nice. So you would have realized that the boys were continuously trying to look past you and weren't getting any sight, but you're pretty sure that the reason that they were, and the reason why they were even here asking, sure they had the duty, but they seemed really intent in getting in, and it sounded like they really wanted to get in to talk to the Jester.
For some other reason than just kids?
Because they're kids and they want to hang out with a cool Jester. Like, he's a celebrity.
Yeah, of course they do, but that's too bad. So the door's shut now, so I give everybody the food. I procured some food, guys.
A bottle of Jernar and wine, and when you kind of go to the bottle of wine and investigate it, you notice that it does have a kind of an older vintage, probably about 80 or so years old itself, and there's a strange stamp on it that it appears to be two serpents kind of coiled in C shapes, kind of overlapping over each other.
So
the letter.
Would I know what that was? I think I might have seen that.
If you've ever been to Stormloft, you would know during the weird time, it's the conglomerate symbol.
Would the conglomerate symbol be on wine normally, or is this given to us by somebody from the conglomerate and not the king who we expect it to be from?
So conglomerate is masters of magic, all types of magic, any kind of magic that's possible, and fermenting wine can be seen as a type of magic. Basically, any craft really can be seen as kind of a magic if it's done in a very arcane way. So the fermenting of this wine, or the creation of this wine, was probably done by magical means.
Okay, knowing that, I would say, guys, this is from the conglomerate, and you know who else is from the conglomerate? It's that asshole wizard that was out there. And so I don't really trust this wine. I think we should either regift it to somebody or, really check it when we open it, because I don't know. I just kind of have a bad feeling about this. We just saw that guy down there. He could have sent up some wine to us. I don't know. What do you guys think? Am I being paranoid or?
No, I think that's
paranoid.
You think so?
I don't know.
How fast do you think that guy could have gotten wine to us?
I think he probably. I don't know. That guy. All I know is he gave us a hell of a time when we were fighting him, and I just wouldn't put it past him to say, "Oh, look who these guys are. They're here. Let me just poison them and get them out of the way."
He probably would just appear and try to kill us.
Okay.
Subtlety has never been his. Subtlety has never been his thing.
All right. Well, if you think that, I mean, you're probably right. I think I'm probably being a little paranoid here, but anyways.
Take a sip of this wine.
Yeah, somebody.
Wait, he's a paladin. He's going to be, immune to the poison.
Right, you want me to try it? I'll try it. What the hell?
Again, you'll be immune to poison.
That one asshole. There you go. I like it. That's what he was.
Perfect.
All right. I will try a little bit of that wine. Hopefully it tastes delicious.
Make a Constitution saving throw.
It's really good. No saving throws necessary. It's tasty.
Wow, it tastes good. It tastes all right for Giacomo.
Yeah, it is.
So I give some to Zell. All right, guys.
Who's Zell?
What?
Don't you mean Giacomo? Anyways, you guys drink some wine, get yourselves ready. Is there anything else that you want to do? Nothing? Good.
Poison!
Let's get to it. So, you would know, Xelbor, that you would need to arrive relatively early, and the only people who will probably arrive earlier than you are the guards.
Right. Also, I would like to, 10 minutes before, am I in the room with people, or how's it working in terms of...
So when you go in there, it'll be you and whoever you bring with you and the guards. And that's probably it.
I know, but do I, make a grand entrance, or do I just, sit in there and wait?
You will be allowed to kind of rehearse if you'd like, and you'd also be granted your seat. But again, if you're going, we'll go ahead and discuss what that means.
Right.
So you're going.
Okay. I'm going, and I'm also bringing a broom with me.
Okay. So the hall is about 200 or so, about 200 feet long and about 80 feet wide. Probably about 250 feet long, actually. It's a really long hall. And there are a number of long tables kind of assorted throughout the place, but they're all kind of positioned in a way that it kind of grows. It kind of,
What the hell was
that? Was my wife. It kind of fans out and away from the one end of the chamber. There's a large gap on one side. So we'll call the north wall the king's wall. So on the north wall, you have a single long table that is perpendicular with the wall, that back wall. And there appear to be about 20 seats on one side of the table. On the other side of the table, there are none. One seat in the center appears to be more grand than the rest, and one seat next to that is just slightly less grand, but grander than the others.
Right, the grand seat is mine, the slightly less grand one is the king's. Got it.
Yes, right, of course. It looks like the table could be moved relatively easily. It looks like it's actually built in sections, and it's it looks like where they will be dining when the nobility and royalty will be dining when it comes to that. Then beyond the table, down from the dais that they're up upon, there is an open space in between the rest of the tables and them. And in that open space, there are two braziers to the left and the right of that, kind of near where you would enter in. And in the center of that area is kind of a slightly elevated space where you presume presenters or performers would stand presenting to the king. And then the tables beyond that are pretty much just audience-style hall, long tables, but they're all kind of like fanned out so that they're long ways pointed in, so that if you were sitting at one of those tables, you couldn't be turned away from the action. Does that make sense?
Right.
Okay, perfect. There are higher tiers above you. It looks like there are positions like further away from the king with shields kind of over top of you, but it looks like there's an area behind that that's kind of like a walkway. What you would presume, being a bard, what you would presume those positions are for. Minstrels are typically not allowed out on the floor. If anybody was playing music, they're not really allowed out on the floor, unless there's some sort of like really important minstrel. They're usually kept away from the nobility and the guests like this, and they're held up in those high positions, but far enough away from the king that they probably couldn't get a good angle on him if they were assassins or something to that effect. And then at the far end of the hall, behind all of the audience tables, there are 3 braziers and 2 exits. So there are 2 entrances behind the braziers, just near the that entrance point, near the opening spot. And then there are 2 exits on the far wall opposite the king. So a total of 4 entrances. And then what you would presume are 2 more entrances, one for each of the 2 catwalks or 2 high points, balconies. That's the word I wanted, balconies, up on the sides of the audience.
Right. Okay.
You would be told that your table, your specific table, they have a small round table near the, if you were sitting in the king's position, left side door. And it's a small round table with probably a total of 4 chairs.
Right. Sounds good. So, I actually do want to just kind of test something before many people get here. It's going to take a few minutes to do, but I kind of want to see if I can do it. So I'm going to spend a few minutes to ritual cast an unseen servant.
Okay.
Then I'm going to hand him the broom and see if he can fly it.
See if you can what?
Fly the broom. It's a flying broom.
Oh, so the intent is for the unseen servant to mundanely just fly the broom around. Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, Just want to make sure that that would actually work.
Okay, and you would know that any kind of motion in towards like the king of any kind with any object would probably be greeted with problems. So you're sure that you can get away with flying a broom over other people. It's just that if you fly it towards the king or around the king, you'll probably be treated as hostile.
Oh, I wasn't planning on doing that. That would be silly. This is more about, like, this is a silly parlor trick that I'm thinking up in the moment. Not I'm going to send it towards the king and get myself axed.
Completely 100% understand.
Right. So lightning bolting at the king would be a bad idea. Good to know.
Might be fun for the other party people to watch, but I'm pretty sure it would not go very well for you.
Hey, party people! What's up? Kill the king! What?
And then you just yell out a raid and go. Like
and then
Raiden from.
Before people get there, I'm just going to like stretch out and also just. I'll probably do the bow or like the bowl thing with Melik. I'm trying to figure out what else I could do with these two non-performy people.
Certainly.
Strong man.
That's true. We could try you as a strong man.
Yep.
Okay.
Ooh, arm wrestling versus Hawke.
Again, you think most of the things that are going to be done here are going to be like you're going to be either singing or performing some sort of thing in the center. It's not going to be something that you can get someone to arm wrestle with Hawke. So you may want to do something that looks like a feat of strength for him to do if you're going to do a feat of strength thing.
Juggle Zell.
Yeah, juggle Zell. That's a feat of strength.
Sure. And then also, I do know that you can play the lute. I'm looking at you, Boo.
If you make me dance while I do it, I swear to God, I'll beat you in front of everyone.
Just a little jig.
As you say that, Boo, you hear a voice from behind you guys kind of coming into the room. And he says, but that could be entertaining in its own right. And as you kind of turn and look at the individual, it's a man in a red robe walking in. And as he stops, he sets his staff down, and the rings inside of the staff head kind of jingle. And he gives you a look. Captain Hawke?
Hawke's hand goes to the sword hilt, and he nods his head.
He smiles. It's been so long since I've seen you. How's...
Oh, do you know him? Oh, how lovely.
How's Dante? He says with a knowing smirk.
I'm going to pretend to look confused.
Hawke does not respond.
I will not pretend.
Yeah, I will not respond either.
I'm going to pretend to look confused.
He kind of like comes in closer, and the two people that were with him kind of stay at the door, just beyond the guards. And he kind of walks up to you, like stays within about 10 feet, not within like draw that sword and kill me range. And he kind of looks down at your sword and is kind of looking you over and with like a grin. You've changed since we've last met.
Upgrade.
I almost didn't recognize you. Upgrade. Assuredly so. That is an easily recognizable sword. Quite the boon, to be sure. I just want to make sure that we understand each other completely before we move into the festivities this evening.
Go ahead.
I know who you are. I know who your friends are. I don't mean to tell anybody here because it's not my business, nor do I care. But I want to make sure that you understand that I apologize. When we last met, we were both on the wrong side. The wrong side for both of us of a conflict we really didn't understand. Fortunately, Aiden was the better of the lot and won out in the end. He kind of looks down at the ground and then kind of looks back up at you and says, hopefully Stormloft flourishes under your protection. But here is very close to where it is very important for me to survive. I understand that we were enemies once, And my goals here are not politically devious. All I want is for the authority to build our tower and to assist the people who enforce the laws here to stop those who would use powers beyond their own responsibility from using them against the common folk, those who cannot protect themselves.
With that, Boo kind of raises a finger and says, so, if I'm to understand you correctly, all you care about is the authority granted to build your tower, not who has that authority? And I'll kind of give him a little smirk.
I'm just going to look around like, what are you talking about?
He kind of looks over at Boo and kind of looks in at Hawke. And in Elvish, he says, huh. I cannot believe you've only been here for a day or so, and you already understand that there's so much at risk here, so much that could possibly go wrong. You really do just jumped right into the mess of it, don't you?
I would like to divine sense this guy and his two companions.
Boo is going to respond with, I've never been one for beating around the bush in Elven.
He grins, and you divine sense him. You detect he's not a celestial, undead, or fiend, or anything like that. He is not evil in a way that makes him like emanate. He seems to be just a regular wizard. He grins, and he looks over at Mel, and he says, "You didn't really have much of a chance to look me over the last couple of times we met, Trackless. I believe you were running and hiding in alleyways, so feel free to do as much as you would like in your detection, Manders. I trust that you will find that I am not a true villain." And he looks back to Hawke, and in common, still in common, because he said that to Mel in common, because he knows he's a fish man. Probably don't speak Elvish. He doesn't know that. He didn't know. But he says to, he's not going to presume, jeez. But he says to Hawke, he says, "I do not care about what you're doing here. I am not going to help you. I am not going to hinder you. In fact, as you walk in here with weaponry," and he looks at you with a grin, and looks over at Zell with a grin, "I will not alert anyone to this fact. It will be our failing. But these minor favors are not free. Anything that you can do in your power to aid us in securing our tower and its right to be built and maintained will go a long way with me. Anything that goes against that goal will be met with opposition. And you have seen the type of opposition that we can put forth. I do not think that you have another random trick that allows you to summon people forth to their doom. And we will be talking about that, to be sure."
So Hawke says, so you have no opinion about whether or not Lena marries this fellow?
I do not care.
You have no opinion about the line of succession?
I do not care. The conglomerate does not have any goals or aspirations. The only reason we sided with the Fellhoods is because they swore that they could build us a tower in Stormloft. It did not happen. It did not happen for over a year. And so when we started seeing opposition from the Egg and Commonwealth, we left. It's not worth our time. And also the right of it was that damn shapeshifters. That said, here, this kind of policy is necessary. The princess you speak of, until recently, was a wild mage. There are other wild mages that are born here. This place is where most of the wild, pure magic has spawned from because of the 16th king of House Albacoris. This is a place where magic is allowed to flow out and become the weapon at the will of psychopaths, or ingrates, or completely unstable children, much like your princess. You must understand that this kind of law is necessary in these wild lands, and I hope that we do not cross one another in our attempts to try and secure a base of law here in this place.
I still have no idea what you're talking about, but you sound magnificent.
All right. I think we've had enough of you. Be off.
Oh, but I have work that I must do. And he says to Hawke, besides, he says, I hope we have an agreement. And as he says that, he walks over to the front of the room, towards the king's table, waves his hand out in front of the table, and you can see runes start to appear on the ground in front of the table. And once all the runes have manifested, he kind of moves his hand over them and then closes his fist, and they all vanish. Xelbor, if you'd like, you can go ahead and make an Arcana check.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Is
that a protection?
Kind of Arcana, or is it just straight normal?
Oh, sorry. This would be Intelligence Arcana.
Okay.
So I suspect he's been hired to, well, nice roll, to protect the king.
Correct. And Boo would know that from what his conversation with the guard was, these Magier are basically here to ensure the protection of the king as well. The wards appear. As you see them kind of manifest, you realize that they're what are known as guard wards, and they typically will have a explosive effect outwards. So if anything were to pass over these wards, much like the alarm spell, but instead of the trigger being like a roo 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 in his ears, it'll be an explosion or detonation of some form. It seems like the way he's got them out, he's already put the work into them, it's just now he's activating them.
Right.
So he didn't just cast them, they were already ready, they were already ritualed out, and he just finalized it.
Okay. That's fine. I kind of figured it was going to be some sort of protecting spell anyway.
Okay. He walks over to you and he looks at you and he says, Giacomo, is there any magic that will be performed inside of your activities?
Oh, just a few minor things for some flash and flare.
Well, I knew a mage much like yourself, a bard who had papers that signified him as a legal conglomerate licensed caster, a Xelbor, I think it was. But I do not know if you are licensed, Giacomo, since you are from the lands of Aegon. He kind of leans in, but we'll leave it.
Think I would go around without being like? Go ahead, though.
He says he leans in and he says, but we'll leave it at that. Feel free to cast what you'd like. And he grins and walks away. The two gray mages kind of turn like away from the guards and see him approaching. They both kind of like lower their heads as he passes by, and then they both follow in rank behind him, leaving.
Right. Once they've gone and aren't like they're leaving, right?
Correct.
Right. You know, I'm not going to say anything right now, just in case there's a magical bug in this room. That's how little I trust them.
There was a magic.
Piss them off.
Like, after they leave, I'm just going to say they were strange fellows.
Yeah, I don't like.
Tell me about them sometime later. Maybe we can have them over for a drink.
The next people to enter, if you guys continue to stay here, are three individuals that you have yet to meet. Boo, you've seen one of these individuals. It was the individual that was speaking to the guard before you walked up upon him. The Lord in the middle kind of just doesn't really give you guys much mind. The other two lords kind of watch you both, and by you both, I mean the two people who are kind of probably towards the front, Xelbor and Hawke, kind of looking you over. There's some whisper talking as they move beyond. You're pretty sure you caught a hint of Dwarvish being spoken. Yep, of course. So when you know that you're about to go on, you'd be preparing that, right? But yeah, the Dwarvish that you do hear, it sounds like they're just kind of commenting on the Jester. A tiefling. Interesting. There should be a devilish performance. And they kind of move to their seats. They are seated on the nobility side. And it looks like, so when I said 20, I meant 19. There are 19 total seats, so a total of 9 to the left, 9 to the right, and the king's in the middle. They are sitting on the... so it would be the king, the princess, you presume, and then the next 3 would be somebody else, and then the next 3 after that are these guys. So they are literally 4 seats away from the king. On his right. Okay. You guys, it looks like there's time, you guys are sitting down, they're sitting down, they're not being served any food or anything, they're just sitting there commenting amongst themselves. Do any of you try to engage them, or do you stay back?
I mean, I'm still preparing, so if the others want to.
Nope, Hawke would stay back.
Okay. The next grouping of people...
go ahead. I'm sorry. Can I get close enough to, like, listen without being assuming?
Yeah, so they're kind of out in the middle of the chamber. You can hear them talking, but they're still, like, they're not really whisper talking, they're just having commentary. They're speaking Dwarvish. I don't know if you speak it. If not, then...
Yeah, I do.
Okay, so it sounds like they're just basically talking about, it's so good that the Magier has been able to arrive. I hope that we're able to convince the king to build the Magier's tower. And then some other commentary about, it sounds like business talk, like of things that are going on in the lands outside of the castle and the like.
Oh, cute.
You would catch that the main guy's name is Lord Pertwee. And the guy you saw before appears to be, his first name is Hubert.
Wait, that was not the captain?
There was a guy speaking to the captain before I spoke to the captain.
The captain's name was
Lord Hubert.
Yeah, the captain's name was Herbert. Oh. This guy's name appears to be Hubert.
Alrighty.
Yes, confusing, I know. Intentional.
All right, guys, remember, we're killing Hubert, not Herbert.
Hubert is his first name. It sounds like they're addressing him by his first name, not his lordly title. Okay, if you guys sit and don't do anything besides, a larger wave of people comes in next. Most of the tables behind you are filled out at this point, but another grouping of individuals enters in as well.
Actually, there is one thing. I would just sort of like... if, we still got time, basically just tell Booh to start gently playing the lute, and I'll just sort of accompany him on one of my instruments.
Okay. Go ahead, and whoever's your lead artist, go ahead and make a charisma performance. If you are proficient with the instrument in question, you are expertise rolling instead of just regular.
Ooh, sweet. This is going to be good.
And if you are assisting him with your playing, Xelbor, then you have advantage as well, Boo.
Oh, am I rolling or is Xelbor rolling?
He said you're the lead, so that's what it sounds like, yeah.
Yeah, you play the leading, and I was accompanying you because I need to do something.
I am less proficient and less skilled, but sure.
Are you proficient with the lute?
Proficient with the lute, yes.
Okay, so are you proficient with performance?
No.
So you're just making a proficient charisma check.
There you go.
It's basically elevator music. Nobody seems to notice it. It's not like wowing anybody. It's just background noise.
That's honestly more what I was going for anyway, so that's fine.
Yep. Nobody seems terribly impressed. A couple of them kind of snobbishly turn their noses up at you. But yeah. Two other individuals pass in. Mel, you would recognize one of them as Kelvin Rathbun. And he kind of walks over to your table and gives you a smile and a nod, and then kind of walks aside back with the person he was with.
We do this special handshake.
Right, of course. The individual he's with is a darker-skinned gentleman. He is wearing finery. It looks like he has several symbols of the god Averiu on his outfit, and he's wearing a lemon yellow cloak. From what you've heard description-wise, Mel, this appears to be Brockhurst, Alan Brockhurst.
Okay.
and the two of them go together and they sit. These two individuals will sit to the right of the king, one chair away from the princess. So there's now a single chair, the princess chair, the king's chair, and then the 5 chairs after that on that side are filled. So a total of 7 chairs have been taken up. There's 2 chairs remaining.
All right.
On that side. Okay. Great. You guys sit around, wait, or do you want to go and ingratiate yourself with the people, speak to these specific lords, anything you want to do?
Oh no, I'm figuring I'm going to let the performance speak for me, personally. I don't know about these guys.
Okay.
The herald speech the performance is giving with 11.
Not performance.
The next people that come in, a total of 3 attendants or pages, similar in age to the ones that were trying to give you drinks and such, come over to your table, Giacomo, and they say, "My lord, we are the trumpeters. We will be playing the trumpets as the king enters in and announcing him. If you would be so kind, if you would like, we can give you a roster if you would like to engage in the heraldry, or we can, of course, leave that to the end of the night in the end discourse. It's entirely your choice."
Oh, I think we should leave it till the end.
Very good. Of course, the king must be announced, but the others can be attended to at a later point. Perfect. Okay, they sit there and wait with their trumpets. Looks like they're just watching the door, waiting for the king's, entrance. The next people that...
I was just going to say, I'm going to, once the seats at the table minus the kings are full, I'm going to just...
Okay.
Nix the music.
Okay. Ravenhurst and his attendants, Finsdale and Loxley, enter in. Finsdale kind of walks over to you, Xelbor, and kind of smiles at you, and he says, "Plan 1?" And he kind of, with a question mark, "Plan 1?"
Oh gosh, which was plan 1?
You're ready for the first stage of the plan, correct? And as he says that, he kind of gives a casual look over to Brockhurst and Rathbone.
He wants us to kill those guys, right?
Well,
I don't say
does.
that. That's what he means.
That is
Right.
what he means.
That is what he means.
Just, if you were not prepared...
I'm just going to smile and sort of look at him and say, I have plans in store for plan 1.
Very good. And he smiles. "I will make sure Lord Ravenhurst knows." And he kind of walks away, heading over. Ravenhurst sits immediately to the left of the king's chair. So the opposite of Ravenhurst would be the princess's chair. And then Finsdale and then Loxley sit with him. And if you remember, Loxley was the tiefling lord that was with him. All right, you guys sit there for a little longer. The chairs start to fill out. A couple of lords that you've never met are sitting with them, but as they're starting to fill out, one of the trumpeters walks away from you, walks over to Lord Ravenhurst, and whispers something to him, and they start to get up and move down a chair. Looks like they're opening up a space at the king's left hand. Very strange sight to behold, to be sure.
Interesting.
Yep. Very, very confusing indeed. Once that's done, you start to notice that the trumpeters are kind of looking out that door, and they raise their trumpets to their lips and start to blow them. A herald. Yeah, I mean, that's what I do. And then one of the heralds, or one of the trumpeters says, "His Lordship, King Nathor Albacoris, first of his name, second son of..." And he goes through basically about a minute of just blah, blah, blah. Some of it sounds pretty interesting, but the most notable thing is warrior and aid of King Kilgore Orc-Basher the Third, and saving the lands of the dwarves in the lands of Jonaris. And that's one of the things that's said amongst a number of other bullshit things that are said. Just the most important one to note. The only one that sounds like it's interesting anyways. And the king enters in his finery. At his arm, on his left arm, is Maid Jean. I want everybody to just go ahead and make me a charisma saving throw real quick.
You guys should get a bonus on that.
Charisma saving throw?
Yeah.
How much?
Just
Would
roll.
be, 4?
Again, if you're wanting to take the protection of divinity, sure. But I'm just it's more or less just for that shocking beauty.
32. Jesus.
I'd maxed it.
So if you got under like a 20, I mean, Maid Jean is a lot fairer than you recall her being. She definitely has been dolled up quite well. Like her hair is done up. Her gown appears to be very regal. She has some jewelry about her person. And as they're walking past you, she stops and kind of says something to the king. The king smiles, and she kind of walks over to your table. She looks at Booh. She looks at Hawke. She looks at Giacomo.
Hello, my dear.
She walks over to Booh, and you hear her kind of like tap her shoe, you think? Booh, go ahead and make a wisdom perception check. You're pretty sure something metal hit the ground underneath her dress. And she looks to you and she says, in Elvish, secure it. It's a key. Don't let anyone see you take it. And she said it very low, whispery. And then she walks away. And as she's walking away, you look down.
I cover it? I just don't want to cover
Your
it
foot?
with my foot. I don't even want to look. I want to replace my foot like where I saw the sound. If I can, you know what I mean?
Make me a charisma check, but if you're proficient with sleight of hand, gain the proficiency for it. Because you're trying to look like you're doing something, but you're also trying to be quick about it. Perfect. You step over the key, kind of like, and to everyone else, including those with you, it looks like, and again, they wouldn't have heard what she whispered to you. It looks like you're just kind of stepping after her, kind of looking after her, like, and trying to play it up like you're like, wow, she's so pretty, but you're really stepping on the key and kind of securing it. Okay. She goes back over to this chair, and she takes the spot that Ravenhurst was actually seated at before he was moved. So she's at the left side of the king. The retinue kind of fills in. A couple more people kind of sit off in the chairs. It looks like there's a total of 3 chairs on the far left side that have remained vacant. And the princess, Lena, kind of enters in as well. She is wearing a cloak, and the shoulders of the cloak appear to be full owl wings, like barn owl wings that have been kind of placed over the shoulders. Her hair is kind of just loosely thrown back. It looks pretty enough. It looks like it's been brushed. Definitely doesn't look like the Lena you're familiar with. And she's wearing a fine green gown with kind of black and gold accents, and the black accent in the front kind of looks like it's shaped like an owl flying out forward with a white kind of owl face, barn owl face in the center. She enters into the room and just kind of looks like she's got a very just mischievous grin on her face, and is kind of just dismissively like talking to people in a very strange manner. Zell, make an insight check with wisdom.
Wisdom insight. I think I have proficiency. Yeah, I have proficiency. Nope.
She seems to be enlivened by the party. She seems to be kind of just more rambunctious than you recall her being. She's most of the times that you've seen this specific Lena, she's been kind of shelled, like protective and kind of defensive, even the time that you met her just earlier today. But for some reason the party seems to have kind of loosened her up, and she seems to be a bit more cordial. and talkative. She goes, but she does not talk to you guys. She passes by you and goes to her seat at her father's side. Okay.
Okay.
Seems like everybody's set in their positions. One of the, as the pages with the trumpets walk away from you, one of them kind of looks to you and says, "The floor is yours, my lord, Giacomo," and they exit.
Right. I'm sorry. I'm playing with my cat, and she just ran into a box. It was kind of funny.
Sounds like a cat to me. A bunch of pages kind of are entering in as well from the back and the sides of the hall, and it looks like the ones from the side are kind of moving to place food. Looks like 2 items of food. It looks like a salad of some sort and a bowl with some sort of steaming kind of broth in it out on all of the tables.
Okay. Also, I would like to say, the unseen servant that I created, I named him Table. And there's a very specific reason for that.
Okay. Place blows up.
Not that table, although that is a good thing.
Fair enough. No, it's not a church. It's not a wedding. You're gonna be okay.
But yeah. So probably what I'd want to do is just start playing my lute some, actually, screw the lute. I'm going to play the bagpipes as I walk up.
Yeah, okay.
Jesus Christ.
Make me, definitely laying it on thick with the appetizers here. Make me a performance check. Yeah, I could. It would be dope. But go ahead and make me a performance check.
Charisma or...
Yeah, charisma. Sorry, Thank you. Yes, charisma, performance, and if you are proficient with the bagpipes, expertise. Nice. So, despite the fact that the bagpipes can definitely be a kind of caustic instrument, especially like with just the sheer cacophony of like the instrument in an area like this, which has a solid echo to it, you've kind of like acoustically listened to the room as you were having conversations and such beyond, and as people were entering in, and got a feel for it. And so, your first shrill note kind of quiets the group, but then your next notes are kind of more like there's more of a cadence to them. And it's what you're playing is kind of this just respectful kind of military march as you kind of move out into the floor, unless you were intending on playing something besides.
Oh, I was planning on playing something a little more lively than military.
So yeah, the military march is still quite lively. Its intent is to, and the bagpipes isn't really like a, I mean, it can be a kind of a jovial instrument, but like what you're playing is basically kind of like a, it's got a bit of a step to it. It's good. It's got a good pace to it. You play that out to its termination. It takes about the amount of time, probably about 5 or so minutes, for them to finish their food. You get a number of claps from everybody. It looks like Ravenhurst and his lot don't seem to applaud, but Brockhurst and Rathbun are very fond of the song. The king looks to you and he says, "Ah, the bagpipes, one of the most famous instruments in the Aegean Commonwealth. It is good tidings that you play such a song for us, Giacomo. Thank you so much. What's next? Please be gay."
Well, my lords, ladies, and you, your majesty, I would ask you to lend me your ear, but I feel that would make it hard to hear me. So I ask that you keep them instead.
They all kind of laugh. Even the ones that weren't so fond of the bagpipes. Continue.
Now, of course, you have already eaten. Unfortunately, I had to prepare. So if you wouldn't mind, Table, come towards me. And I actually want the unseen servant named Table to start dragging the table towards me.
All right, so Mel, Boo, and Hawke, you are left without a table as the table moves away from you and comes over to Zell. After the table is set, I'm certain that the next thing of it is the chair is brought to you as well. Right?
No, actually,
No.
I'm going to use minor illusion to conjure a chair.
Okay, perfect.
I'm just going to snap my fingers, conjure a chair. Now, of course, if you will just pardon me for a minute, and I'm going to sit down through the illusion. And yes, I am purposely doing a pratfall.
Okay.
Sit down through the illusion. Hilarious.
A chair appears, you sit on the chair wafts away as you plop on the floor in a goofy manner.
Right. Seems I've made an ass of myself. I need someone... Hold on a second. Yeah. Seems I've made an ass of myself, and I'm going to polymorph myself into a donkey.
All right. As he's...
This is hard to watch.
This is so great. As you cast the polymorph spell, you turn into a donkey. Is it a concentration spell? Like, you can just snap that off, right?
That was a concentration spell, actually.
Okay, so you can just snap that off if you're wanting. Because I was wondering, are you just going to be a donkey now? Like, how does that work?
Concentration, I can just stop concentrating on it.
Right. I was making sure that was the case because I was gonna. Yeah. So you poof back into normal mode, and everybody is definitely laughing.
Correct.
Doing good so far.
I actually, at this point, would like, if you wouldn't mind, what did I call Hawke before? It was something like Babyface, or no, Dollface. Hawke to like toss me around a bit.
Absolutely. I'd be happy to toss around a little bit.
Xelbor juggling. So what I would like from the two of you, Hawke, go ahead and make a strength athletics check, and Xelbor, make me either a strength or dexterity acrobatics check.
Oh God.
So am I? I'm trying to understand if I'm either proficient or expert in that.
You're proficient. You're not expert. Okay, so you kind of like pick up Xel kind of by the midriff, throw him up in the air about 5 or so feet. As he's coming down, you assume he kind of wants to catch you, or you want to catch him by like the shoulders, and you do, but you kind of catch him like where you were expecting to catch him, but he kind of turns in midair and he kind of drags his head across the floor just slightly, not like roughly. As he kind of snaps back up, you can see that there's like just a fluff to his hair, and you kind of try and snap him up again, but like the way he's now positioned, you kind of have to set him down and then kind of grab him again. There isn't too much to the juggling here, and it kind of leaves everybody like kind of weirdly like confused, and also the timing was off because they'd finished all of their original food with the original performances, and they were being served their first course in their dinner, as were you, at the table that you've moved away from all of the others.
This is worst performance ever.
The unseen servant moves the table back. Okay.
Yeah, I'm
fair.
That was just a gimmicky thing.
No, I know. I'm just making sure. Okay, so they kind of look to you as they start to eat into this first course of the meal. It looks like the first course of the meal actually probably gets Mel's attention. It looks like it's oysters. And a light kind of pasta that looks like it's kind of steeped in like a crab sauce.
This is getting good, guys.
You're like, I want to eat this, but I gotta work.
Oh man! Plus, this is like awesome classic Xelbor from his bar days.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is Xelbor being a zany nut job that you're not sure what to do with him.
Hey, you're doing a great job. Mel likes it.
Right.
The space next to Lena has yet to be filled. It still is just kind of lingering open. That space in between the other lords and Lena. But as you're kind of like sitting there, like grasping at straws mentally and thinking about what the next step is.
I'm going to do more acrobatics for a minute.
Okay, so you kind of, as you're about to snap up and do that, you notice that someone enters into the chamber, led in by the guards. It appears to be who you would know as Griselda.
Gotcha. So Griselda's here.
Yes.
All right. But yeah, I just kind of want to do some acrobatics for a minute or two into,
Okay.
from them.
Real quick, while you're focused on that, I just want to make sure everybody else is being paid attention to. So you're getting ready for that. Go ahead and make a charisma acrobatics check if you'd like. Or you can just make a charisma performance check if you prefer. Either or is fine. Does anybody else want to engage in anything, focus on anything, specifically do anything?
Absolutely.
Yep.
So it's more about looking out the room, seeing what the king is doing, what Lena's doing, what the Magier is doing, just sort of get a sense if there's anything funny going on. Any kind of tension.
Okay. Perfect. Okay. You would see that Griselda kind of stops behind Maid Jean for a moment, kind of giving her a look. And then after fashion, she kind of walks past her and then sits next to Lena. You're kind of focusing in on anybody specifically on the dais.
The king.
Okay. Yeah, he seems to be having a great time, even with the ones that seem to be misses for Zell. Yeah, he seems to be having a good time. And he's drinking heavily from a gold and ruby encrusted chalice. He looks like he's having... It is... Damn it! Did you watch this movie? Like... Get out of here. So anyways, yeah, he's drinking the palace chalice and seems to be having a great time watching. Okay, Boo, anybody or anything that you're focusing on specifically? Anything you want to check or do?
Oh my gosh, I know which movie you're doing.
Right.
Danny Kaye?
Yeah, you're Danny Kaye right now.
Oh my gosh, I can't believe it took me this long to figure that out.
God damn it. When you said chalice from the palace, I'm like, it's wrecked! It's wrecked! But Zach, is there anything that you're doing specifically?
These lords that we're supposed to be helping out, or not helping out, but the ones who have arranged for Griswold to be here, are they here?
Yeah, yeah, that's Rathbone and Brockhurst.
Nice. Can I try and fucking get close, maybe eavesdrop on them?
Yeah, so from your position, you're not too far away from the dais, and you're actually on the right side to be listening in on them, to be sure. So yeah, if you're checking on what they're doing, they're very quiet and they're very focused, and it looks like they're very, very often checking the door. It seems like they're waiting and hoping that Griswold will arrive.
Not like discussing anything or whatever.
Not in particular.
Nervous.
Not nervous. Yes, they're not discussing much though.
Okay.
Yep. But yeah, it looks like Ravenhurst and his friends are definitely more into it. But Finsdale is definitely keeping an eye on Xelbor. His watching of the festivities here, the act, is a little bit more. It looks like he's trying to just see if anything's going to happen in particular, anything interesting.
Just to say, I want to start doing, after doing some of the acrobatics, I want the broom to start flying around and me doing acrobatics over and around it.
Okay.
That's
yeah. Perfect. Perfect. So you got a whipping around broom in the center there, and you're kind of doing your flips and stuff. Everybody seems to be taking, it is definitely something that's got everybody's attention. Boo, as you're kind of watching those two, you would notice that they are sitting on that other on the opposite side is where Ravenhurst and them are sitting. But it looks like as you're kind of watching them, Maid Jean kind of looks like she's pardoning herself from the king, and she's kind of getting up and moving away. By all accounts, it looks like she's heading for the privy or something to that effect.
Is there any way for me to subtly follow her?
Yeah, absolutely. You could. You're pretty sure that the way she's going, if you were to sneak out the back end, you could snake around to her pretty quickly. and intercept her.
I don't want to intercept her, but I want to follow her. If that makes sense.
Yeah, so you
Trying
could.
to prevent her from doing whatever.
I don't mean intercept like a football interception. I mean like
Yeah. Just make sure we're clear.
Got it. Yeah, certainly can. Are you trying to remain hidden from her though, or trying to get her attention and maybe?
Trying to remain from her.
Okay, go ahead and make me a dexterity stealth check. And Hawke, you're focused on that. Mel, what are you doing?
I think I'm going to keep my eyes open, especially pay attention to like Lord Ravenhurst and I guess Griselda.
Okay.
And Lena. I'll try to keep an eye. And then just everybody in general, just kind of see if there's anything strange going on, or you know what I mean, just perceiving the whole area. And
okay. So as you're kind of watching them and you kind of focus on Lena, she kind of gets up and walks past her father, walks over to Brockhurst and Rathbon. Looks like she's having a conversation with them. Pleasantries are being basically passed. And she seems to be in kind of high spirits. She engages them, and then she engages the other lords that are along the same side as them, heading on down the row, just basically being very cordial with everybody as she passes them by. Griselda's, of course, sitting next to her, but she remains seated. Griselda has kind of a look of worry on her face, and is every glance just looking over to Giacomo, like watching him. Back to you, Zell. Your acrobatics have gone quite well. What do you want to do with your next bit?
Okay. So my next bit is going to be, I'm actually doing one of my acrobatics. I want to cast Dimension Door and to like pop myself up on one of the balconies that I saw earlier.
Okay.
So, tumble through and poof, I'm on the balcony.
Okay, so that's pretty much the act, is you're going to basically poof up there and kind of, hey, whoa, and some kind of jokey bit, right?
Yeah. Now, if you'll excuse me, that takes a lot out of me. So I think right now what would be best would, of course, be a daring tale. And I will start weaving a story of
Daring do
lore, throw in a little bit of comedy, talk about this fool who started to rob from goblins, and then they attacked him, and his party.
Wait a sec. Wait, and do me a favor though. Roll me a D100.
I couldn't resist putting that one in there somewhere. Andrew, I hope you're watching someday.
Boo.
Jesus.
Okay. As you teleport up there and kind of announce yourself and such, and are kind of looking down at the people, and you kind of look back over to the royal table, and the people who are closer to the table are obviously distracted. You see Brockhurst and Rathbon like start convulsing, try to stand up, and fall out over the table. Their cups being thrown forward and spilling out onto the ground before you. It looks like, from your position, from what you can see there, Zell, it doesn't look like anybody's near them at all. It doesn't look like anybody like directly assassinated them. So it must have been some sort of ingestible.
Help them, Mel.
I can help them. Can I charge up to them and like do some cool stuff to them?
Okay.
Like for example, I would do if they just died. If they died, I would do revivify.
Sure.
If they don't die, if they're not dead, I would do like protection from poison. So it kind of depends on what they are.
Gotcha. Go ahead and make me a wisdom medicine check.
Okay.
Killing the mood.
Wisdom medicine. All right, this one should work. Boom.
Okay. So you're pretty certain that Revivify is a touch spell, correct?
Yeah, you can use it after they die.
Gotcha. Okay, you're pretty sure that you could get up to them and heal them, not heal them, revivify them. You're certain that they're dead. Do you want to run towards Rathbon or the other one?
Oh, I would obviously do Rathborn first.
Okay, great. Do me a favor and make me a dexterity saving throw.
No.
I saw this one coming a mile away.
I'm gonna kill myself.
Oh, nice. So you're only taking half.
You take 100 points of damage.
That's what the D100 is for.
Bear with me 1 second. Just need to check something here.
And there goes Melik stealing my finale.
Raising dead.
Yeah.
The only thing
Bear with me here.
that would have been worse is if they would have killed Xel.
They wouldn't have killed me. They like me.
Or I guess they could have killed Hawke or Booh too. That'd have been bad.
I don't think that we were on anyone's target list here.
Oh, we're always on somebody's list.
Funnily enough, I think this is a first for us.
We're not on that wizard's list.
Okay, so it was actually a strength check that I need you to make, a strength saving throw. We're just going to use your raw roll there, and your strength's higher than your dex. So yeah, you make it. The second you step on the ward that's in front of Rathbon, a gust of wind, a column of wind kind of blows out from that position as the ward ignites underneath your feet. It's just straight pushing you away. But you save. So you're not pushed. It would be difficult to kind of like get to him without having to dash to him, of course, especially since you were seated. So you'll have to attempt to, like, once you get there, you'll have to kind of focus yourself again, hope you pass your strength saving throw, and then attempt to revivify. So I just need one more strength saving throw from you. And if you succeed, you can cast Revivify. If not, So you are thrown back 15 feet away.
Can I use my inspiration to succeed?
You have inspiration, yeah.
Yeah,
just switch for the 18. Sure, perfect. Okay, and then you're going to cast Revivify on Rathbon, correct?
Yeah. And then after I cast Revivify on him, I'm going to... my thought is, knowing poisons and the fact that I'm a medic and everything, what I mean is I know medicine in general. I'm thinking I would probably need to use lay out hands and spend 5 hit points to get rid of this poison.
That would be another action. You're not free from the fact that you did, but you cast a spell within that radius. So what I need you to do is throw up your Revivify spell, please.
Yep. I'll do that. There you go.
Okay, 1 second.
Oh shit, I gotta cut that money out too. Gotta get rid of a diamond.
For a goddamn NPC.
This isn't just any damn NPC.
Okay.
This is Rathbon.
So, the second you begin to cast the spell, you realize that one of the wards near you activates and terminates your spell. So your spell slot is wasted, but your spell is countered.
Okay, what I say is, you asshole, I'm trying to save this guy.
Right.
Turn your wards off. And I'm looking at that guy.
But he's not in the room.
Motherfucker. I go,
any spell of 3rd level or lower that's cast, it targets it, counter spell.
Could I counterspell the counterspell?
No, you can't do that.
You'd have to be prepared to do it. Anyways, the second that you cast that, that's a turn. Do you want to move at all?
Oh, I'd be right next to him.
Okay, so you're still standing there. Go ahead and make me another strength saving throw at the beginning of the next turn when you're attempting to do something else.
This is not going well, guys.
You're safe. And you're not being pushed back. You're holding yourself, bracing yourself against the wind. And of course you have another option to act.
Okay, then. So, was Wrathborn dead then, or was he like almost dead?
They're both dead, according to what you can tell from your proficiency.
Right, son of a bitch. I'm gonna cast Revivify again the next time I get a chance.
Sure, so that would be this turn, just when you made that saving throw.
Wrathborn.
On the second, go ahead and just throw the spell up there again, and just so we know that you're doing it.
Yeah.
Not having learned your lesson, you see another ward activate down the row, manifest, and stop the spell. As this is going on and you're rushing through, everybody's kind of like gathering around. Lena's kind of stuck at the far end because she walked down the line. Griselda's looking at them very curiously from her position right near them. And the king is like, "What is this? What is this? Quit it! Who is he? Get him away from the tables!" He looks at Giacomo up on the thing and says, "Get him away! Get your servant away! What has happened to them?"
You're gonna get killed by proxy.
Yeah.
The guards kind of start rushing in behind you, Mel, as the wind's still kind of blustering against you. You're pretty sure that the two counters to your spell have activated, and it doesn't look like they're just based on their position. You're not sure that they're. I mean, if there's another one, then it wouldn't be symmetrical. It'd be really weird. You don't know where that ward would come from. Is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So, do you want to try and stay here and attempt to do it again, or do you want to just yield and back away? Because the guards are coming in at this point.
I would try one last time to save.
Sure, my fish friend. Strength saving throw.
And if I fail, then I fail.
Alright, so you are sent back 15 feet and kind of thrown to the floor as the guards kind of enter into the room. The gust of wind still kind of blowing, and they kind of steer away from it. And they're kind of looking towards you, looking towards the dead bodies, and looking towards the king. And the king is, "What is the meaning of this? Who did this? Who killed them? Who killed Lord Rathbone? Who killed Lord Brockhurst? These are our guests. We cannot allow this." And he looks to everybody sternly. He's just very upset looking. I'm going to go from left to right. Does anybody want to focus on anybody in particular in this clue game that we've set up, or do you have any questions about the scenario as it stands? Boo?
No, I don't have any questions at the moment.
Okay. Hawke?
Looking at Griselda and Lena.
Okay. Lena's on the far side. She kind of walked past that line, so she's on the far side of that same group. Make me an insight check.
Yep.
With wisdom, sorry.
Oh, thanks.
Okay.
I don't think that's proficient, right?
So just wisdom, yeah. That's pretty good. She seems to have a smile on her face, but you're not sure whether or not it's from the activities, or maybe she's still kind of in a conversation and hasn't really. There's been a raucous over there, and maybe she's dejected away from it. But then on second thought, you kind of watch her a little bit, and you notice that she is looking at the scenario as it plays out, and the smile hasn't faded from her face. Very strange.
Okay. What about Griselda?
You're kind of focusing more on Lena, but Griselda looks like she's very confused as well, and she still has that very worried look where she's kind of glancing over at Lena every so often.
Okay, thanks.
Yep. What did Zach say he was focusing on?
I mean, I'm still following what's her name, right?
Yeah, not in the room right
Oh, right. Well, oh, yeah, sorry. That's right. We'll get to you in a second. While this is happening. Mel pushed back. Zell, what are you doing? You're up on the thing. You're coming back down, right?
No, I'm actually staying up there, and I'm just kind of looking around to see if I notice anything or anyone acting suspiciously or anything like that.
Okay, go ahead and just make me a straight wisdom check. No bonuses at all.
Straight wisdom. Guys, I got +1 in this.
Mm-hmm.
Yay.
So you're kind of watching everything, and the main thing that you keep on focusing your eyes on is the whole Mel bit and the guards that are coming down to him. You're pretty sure that Mel might talk himself into some trouble here if he doesn't play it right. That's kind of what you're thinking about. Speaking of Mel talking himself into some trouble, the guards come over to you and kind of help you up. It doesn't look like they're forceful or anything. It does look like they are being kind of cordial to accept their assistance.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the wards and runes kind of like fade and stop blowing their wind out and about. And Nathor says, "What is the meaning of this? What is the meaning of this? Who killed these men?"
I am sorry, Your Grace. I was trying to cast a spell to bring these two friends of mine to life. It looks to me, it appears that they have been poisoned, and I was unable to do it because the wards that were placed in the room dispelled my conjuration. So, but I apologize for that. But when I saw that they were dead, I just acted on instinct, which was to save them. And unfortunately, I'm unable to at this point.
You kind of realize that, like, it's kind of the most sincere thing ever, and I love you for it. But like you're pretty sure that if you'd rushed to it again, you might have been able to save them. Of course, the guards were a problem, but the thing that deterred you was having to you know that it's been a minute. You know that they're dead.
Right. And so I had zero spells left. I tried 3 times and failed, and that was all I had.
You only tried twice.
You tried twice, because we got blown back the third time.
Oh, you're right. No way, I forgot about that then. Oh well, I'm gonna say I didn't because then it sounds better.
Fine, fair.
At least I didn't think I did. Maybe I did, but I thought I had cast it when I had.
Perfectly fine. But yeah, you are pretty sure that you possibly could have saved them if it wasn't for the stupid wards and having to explain what you were trying to do. But you're certain now at this point it'll be a higher level spell, or a different spell rather, to bring them back from the lands of the dead. As this is happening, the guards are making sure that you're kind of secure. They're not holding you or anything. They're just kind of standing close to you. But you can kind of get the vibe that they're basically watching you. And then another 2 of the guards are checking over them, over the dead bodies. One of the 2 guards that's checking over them, you would recognize as the guard captain. He seems to be the person in charge. All right, we're going to snap from there. We're going to go to the elf outside. Sorry that took a little while. A lot happened.
That was important shit.
It was super important. But you would see her kind of maneuvering about. She kind of looks to you. Wait, you're hiding from her? You rolled a really good stealth check.
Yep.
So she doesn't look to you. But it appears that she's heading in a specific direction.
Okay, can I continue to follow her?
Certainly. Yep, she seems to be making her way up to the royal apartments, and once she kind of gets to this narrow area, she looks to one of the one guard who's left here in position, kind of walks up on him, and looks like he's trying to stop her. The next thing you see is she's gutting him with that weapon of hers, and throwing him to the ground.
Fuck yeah, she is. Oh, righty then.
She looks around just a bit, waiting to see if anybody saw what happened, and then once she's certain that no one has, she takes the guard, who might be about 5'6", 5'7", 180 pounds with his armor, probably 220, and seems to start shoving him into a bag. It seems like the bag is too small to carry the body, but it seems to have no problems doing so.
She's a witch! Burn her!
Burn the witch! Burn her! Well, if she weighs the same as a duck, then, well, yeah.
She should float.
She's a witch.
Do you make your presence known or continue to follow?
Continue to follow. Gotta love chaotic neutral.
Alright. She moves up to the door, and she reaches into her chest region of the dress, and pulls out a key. Key that looks different than the one that you acquired. And she unlocks the door and kind of enters into the chamber. It appears that the chamber she's entering into is a royal apartment of some sort.
Does she like close the door behind her and shit?
No, she leaves it open.
Yeah, I'm gonna continue to follow.
Okay. Entering into the chamber, and remaining in stealth as you kind of look into the room will be difficult. So you might want to make your presence known if you're going to enter in. Otherwise, you're just going to stay outside and watch.
First, I want to listen for a second, and if I don't hear anything, I'm going to walk in, kind of like casual, like I'm supposed to be walking in there, if that makes sense.
Okay. So as you enter into the room, or look into the room to see what's going on, you can see that she's kind of distraught, and she's starting to move towards drawers and rip them open. Looking into the chamber, you can see garb that it's kind of just tattered, and some weird-looking garb, some finer-looking cloaks, but the room seems to have kind of a stench to it, a stench of magic, just this weird kind of acrid smell. The floor is covered with salt, kind of just traced out in patterns, and there seems to be this kind of moat of green energy kind of glowing in the center of the room. You have Arcana trained, correct?
Yeah.
Make me a Wisdom Arcana check. Yeah, so the circle appears to be some sort of magic circle or summoning circle, and this room appears to be like the hostel of some sort of mage or witch. And your guess, your most surefire guess, is that this is Griselda's chamber. She's kind of muscling through it, and when you kind of make your presence known, she kind of looks back over her shoulder to you, and she says, "Do you still have that key?"
I do.
Good. We might have to get out of here, and that's the only way out. So keep it safe. And she kind of starts ripping at the drawer some more, and eventually she kind of pulls out a parchment, and she holds it up, and she walks it over to you, and she slams it against her chest. If you do get out of here, make sure this gets to Jason.
Jason?
In the woods?
Ah. Understood.
She looks to you and she says, "I'm going back to my place at the King's Seat, but I'm pretty sure that Griselda's gamble has already gone to folly." She shakes her head. "Let's go."
I'll give you a chance to enter first.
Very good. And
I'll like give her a minute or two to like walk out.
Okay.
And then I'll like chill in the hallway or whatever.
All right. Is there anything you want to do in there?
Is there anything of note that sticks out at like a cursory glance?
That glowing mote of energy in the center of that summoning circle.
Yeah. I mean, can I check that shit out?
Arcana Intelligence. You have no idea. You definitely will need someone wiser than you are in the ways of the arcane. You might be able to, if you have paper or parchment, you could probably take a minute or so to jot it down and get it.
That's exactly what I was going to ask to do, because I'm going to take a minute or two anyway, so I want to make sure I detail out everything that I see somewhere so I can kind of pass that off to Hawke.
Perfect. Yeah, Hawke would have no idea what it is.
But I mean, pass it off to Hawke so he can discuss it himself.
Got it. I get you. I get you. I feel you.
I'm following chain of command like a little soldier.
Okay. So you're going to be out for a little while this is happening.
Totally fine. I'm out like 5 minutes.
Sure. As they're gathering themselves and kind of like readying themselves, the single trumpeter, the pages, kind of runs into the room, kind of looks over to the two dead bodies as the guards are kind of pulling them away from the tables, and he kind of, freaks out a little bit, but then he raises the trumpet up and blows it out, and he says, "I announce to Duke Griswold, Lord and Duke of the Aegon Commonwealth and Kingdom of Aegon," and starts going through this whole ritual spiel of nonsense. As he's kind of beginning it, the king raises his hand and the boy stops, and he says, "Hold him at the gates." get these bodies out of here. If we're going to be attending a guest, I want to make sure that he knows that we are able to keep ourselves up. And remove these tables. I'm done eating. I don't think anyone here would want to eat in the presence of such horrible travesty. And he looks to everyone. And no one leaves this place until after we have consorted with Griswold and the guards have had a chance to take some. And the guard captain kind of looks up to him and he says, "Of course, my lord. We will make sure that everyone is interrogated and in questions are brought forth to see if anything was seen as to the fate of these two lords. And we will make sure the bodies are taken away from this place so that you can congregate with Lord Griswold in a most appropriate fashion." And the king kind of nods and says, of course. Yes, thank you. Good. That all happens. Is there anything happening while you guys are doing that?
I mean, I'm going to look for my broom and just float it on it down.
Okay. You would see as that's happening, in walks the red cloaked man and his two gray cloaks. They kind of walk over to the wards and runes and look them over, and he kind of raises his hand up. And as he does so, you can see that the wards and runes are basically disbanded. He kind of walks over to the guard captain. They have a conversation. After he's done, he kind of walks over to Zell and your guys' group, and he says, "Did you see anything at all of a magical nature happen besides, of course, the wards that blocked you from entering the other side of the table?"
Well, I hope you can sleep well tonight, because you killed those two people. You did that. Your wards.
I'll sleep just fine.
Yeah, I know you will.
I'm asking you, group, if you can assist me in finding the actual people who killed them.
I saw nothing, unfortunately.
Very good. And he walks over to Hawke. Nothing.
I saw nothing. I would question the people who served him food and drink.
Very good. We will do so. And I suggest you put a hook to your fish, if you get my meaning. Reel him in. And he walks away.
No, somebody better reel you in, mister.
Three of them walk away. No, fuck you, asshole.
He cock-blocked my save there.
No, yeah. Honestly, if you would have gone in for the third one, you would have gotten him. I hate to be that jerk, but yeah, there's two or three total wards for Gust, and then there's 2 wards for Counterspell. And then activatable, there are 3 triggers for Dispel, and then there are... What was the other one? Hold on, my notes.
Yeah, don't remind me that I could have saved Rothburn, or however you say his name, Rothburn, because if I would have been able to do it that final time, I wouldn't have had enough to save his other buddy, Alan Brockhurst.
Alan Rickman
from the Alan Brockhurst band.
Oh, right. The other 2, there were 2 positions for Stinking Cloud, which could be kind of pushed. If you look at the way the gusts were hitting, it would kind of funnel the Stinking Cloud into the middle.
Man, bad.
Yeah, but those were activatable. They weren't detonatable. So he would have to basically go, oh, this asshole's trying to assassinate and he's locked in by the gusts. Die. Like situation, like start choking.
Oh, well. Yeah. Now Mel has even more reason to be depressed, is that he could have cast again, but he didn't know it. So, oh well.
It's fine. Don't worry about it. It's not your fault. And neither is it mine. It's nobody's fault.
It's whoever tried to kill that guy's fault. We got to catch him. But I think that damn wizard is partially at fault, too. He unknowingly created a situation that somebody could get killed in.
You do realize he was protecting the king, or trying to.
But that ruins my anger at him.
Being rational and thinking about it makes him less of a villain. Stop.
Yeah.
I mean, he's the bad guy. I mean, his handout says that one asshole. Like,
Zell, he wants to control magic in this city. Those are the assholes that go around asking for people's magic papers. I mean, this is like he's like a communist.
I'm not saying that I like
fascist.
him.
No. Opposite of communist. He is like a fascist.
Yeah, and fascists are the worst. Even the communists hate the fascists.
Right.
So.
Right. So we should too. I got it. You're right. No, we should hate fascists, but like again, like yeah, he is a guy who wants magical papers. He is kind of a weirdo. Yes. Him and his kind. But that aside, if you guys are kind of moseying about, there's nothing else that you guys are doing. Boo, you'll eventually arrive back. The guards will not allow you entrance.
Can I ask
no.
The chamber has been cordoned off. Anyone who's inside, besides the king himself, is not allowed out. And anyone who is entering in must be the Duke Griswold himself, with no attendance. Someone has two lords were killed.
Don't worry, we're okay.
One of the guards kind of looks over to Boo and says, "Weren't you in here before? Why did you leave?" The other guard says, "He's fine. Nobody who killed someone would return back to the scene of the crime. That's just dumb. Especially if they were already escaping. He wouldn't have came back. But unfortunately, my Lord Elf, we cannot allow you to go back in."
Fair enough. I see no reason to cause a ruckus.
Very good. As he's saying that, and you're basically kind of turning away, thinking about what you're going to do, the guard captain walks over to you, like just out of nowhere, and places his hand on his shoulder, waves his hands at the guards, and walks past them into the chamber. He says, "Go be with yours."
Appreciated, and I'll quickly duck away.
And he says, before you escape, he says, "Keep an eye out. If you saw anything, please let us know."
I thought I might, but it turned out to be nothing. Hence
Very
my
good.
spy return.
The next thing that you hear is the trumpeters again blazing the trumpets as everything's been kind of set to rights, and the king has kind of taken his place, casually seated. He looks over at you, Xelbor, and he kind of gestures for you to come sit with him at his feet.
Okay, I'll do that.
And he says, "Play something on one of your instruments. Make it a brighter mood than it is."
Right. I will take out my lute and play something brighter than what it is. The song.
Okay. You play a nice happy song as Griswold enters into the chamber. His retinue is kept outside, as I mentioned.
Right.
He appears to be in full traveling gear, like he just arrived. He appears to be wearing kind of a yellow and orange garb underneath his armor, and underneath that, robe that he's wearing underneath his armor, he has kind of like a light blue shirt. On his back is strapped a very large greatsword with the symbol of Atavius emblazoned upon its pommel, a round-shaped pommel. He has a very noble-looking beard and a mustache that's been trimmed, separated away from it. His hair is cut in a very military style, and he has kind of just a grizzled look to him. He looks to you all, and he just kind of bows his head after placing his fist over his chest, over his heart, kind of bows down to the king. The king says, "Duke Griswold, thank you for attending us. I believe you have been sent for." And Griswold says, "I have indeed. The reason that I was sent for was made very clear and plain to me. As I understand it, I am to have your daughter's hand in marriage, so that I can have her dowry and serve her if she is to become regent of your lands as her Lord Defender." And as he says this, everyone kind of lets out a low gasp.
Right.
You can kind of see an irritated look on Ravenhurst's face as he says it. And then there's an immediate reply. And Lena says to just everyone, she says, "I will never marry you. I do not love you. And I have no desire for you. Instead, I have found someone much greater than you. Someone who will serve me as a loyal husband and bring me great riches and title. And the king says, what is this? You'll marry who I say you will marry.
Oh dear God.
You... Damn it. You will marry who I will say you will marry. You will marry Griswold if I so please it. And the lady, Lena, in response says, but I am not in love with Lord Griswold. I am in love with another. And who is this man? Who are you speaking of? Who is it that you love so fondly?
Can Xelbor just get a little more pallid than usual, like just slightly less red?
And damn it, I hate that you've seen the movie. I really do. It's the worst thing ever.
You're ruining it, man.
Oh, it's fine. It's great for the rest of you because I don't think you guys see it coming.
No, I don't know.
No,
But
I don't know what's happening.
she says, I am in love with Xelbor. We secreted away, or not Xelbor, sorry, Giacomo. My brain farted. I am in love with Giacomo. We secreted away into the secret chambers earlier this afternoon. Griselda saw it. She is my witness to seeing this, and she knows that he is my true love, and he will be my loyal husband. And she says this. Everyone's kind of like freaking out, like gasping and the whisper talking, and the king is like jaw dropped, and
Nice
everyone.
knowing you,
I
Zell.
would like to say, like, when she said that just your
Dimension door.
The loot stops very abruptly. Very good. And that mention, we'll that's where we'll leave it off for tonight. I hate that you've. There was a reason.
John,
yeah.
I would like to say, the reason I said the chalice in the palace was totally just because that is just such a memorable line in my mind. If you hadn't said, oh, we've seen it, I would not have made that connection.
Well, don't go back and watch it. Don't even think about it. And if you're, I know now that you're thinking about it, you're probably thinking about it because it is, the whole thing's iconic.
Oh,
But
I would say, I haven't seen that movie.
you haven't?
Wow. So,
Oh, good.
I remember certain key points, but I don't remember the overall plot.
But there are differences, so that's also a thing too. So yeah, but afterwards I will of course tell you guys the root material, and you can feel free to investigate it yourselves. I'm gonna go ahead and kill the stream. Thanks for watching. Those that didn't watch, who aren't there, because I know